Math 122, I've talked to you about what needs to get done before Thanksgiving, and one of that is the scientific notation homework. So, what is scientific notation? I mentioned really briefly something about abbreviation. Well, I think you understand the idea. I'm looking at a doctor. Well, who's going to write all 6 letters? That's too much work. Let's just write it doctor. You understand the point. We can abbreviate, make things shorter. As in words, we can do it with numbers. If I give you that number, a lot of zeros, my eyeballs are kind of like, well, how many zeros? Tens, hundreds, thousands? It'll be a little hard, but we can abbreviate it that way. We can compress it. Now, that works. That's the idea of scientific notation. Take a big number, write it with an exponent. And we can also see it with more complex numbers here, this 5,700,000. Well, the 57 turns into 5.7, and the 6 represents the fact there's 6 places. Now, notice I didn't say 6 zeros. It's 6 places. How come that's important? Because when you look at the homework, it's somewhat similar. You're not always counting zeros. This is the homework. I'll switch the numbers up, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. So for part A, I'm looking at that number, and I'm saying, well, the first thing I'm going to do is take the 75, the number part. On part B, I'm going to take the 46, the quote-unquote number part. If you looked at the abbreviation one I did back there, and don't ask me why, math people put a period inside of the first number like that. How come it's after the first one? Why not the second? I don't know. That's just the rule. And once we have that dot there, then we count from that dot to the end of the number. So in exercise A, if the dot is between the 7 and the 5, we just count to the end of the number. I'm not counting the zeros, I'm counting those places. There's 6 places, and so that gives me my exponent, 10 to the 6. In part B, you're going to count from between the 4 and the 6, where that dot goes, not necessarily to the end of the number, to where the dot is back there. So I count 7 places. All right, so it's times 10 to the 7. Careful, part B, since it's a decimal, we need to make that exponent a negative, like that, -7. Notice the difference. That's a big number in the millions, so it's just a 6 in the exponent. If this is a small number, a decimal, it's a -7. On the homework, I give you a couple exercises like that where you're going to do the counting. If you have any questions, obviously that's something that you can post to me via email, or Saturday there's online tutoring. The Zoom link is posted in Blackboard. Here's another question related to scientific notation. Not just one number. I'm giving you 2. I'm saying, hey, multiply, divide, do some math with it. In order to well, that's your homework. Let's change the numbers up. And in order to tackle this, the first thing I want to emphasize is like terms. So in both of those, look at, I've got number parts. The 2 in the front, even there's a decimal. That's just plain old 2, plain old 9. We know how to multiply that. Back in the 3rd grade, we did that. And then the exponent parts, well, those are exponents, so we're going to combine them on their own as well. How do you combine a 10 to the 8 and a 10 to the -4? The rule is this. I know I see a multiply symbol there, but the rule is this. You just add those numbers. 8 plus a -4. You got to do a little bit of plus minus stuff. 8 plus a -4 is 10 to the 4. Multiply the numbers like normal. Add the exponents. Think about that. Multiply the numbers. Add the exponents. Kind of you got to divide and conquer, so to speak. Looking over here, I'm seeing the same thing. 3 divided by 9. Calculator gives me 0.33. Nice and easy. And then I'm looking at the exponents over here. I say 10 to the 5, 10 to the 11. You might have, if you got a bold guess going on, this is a multiply, so we added those numbers. This is divide. We are going to subtract those numbers. 5 take away 11. Well, that doesn't work. It's going to be a negative number. Sure enough, if you take your calculator, 5 take away 11 is a -6. Wait, a divide and you're minusing? Remember, that's because it's the exponents. That's because it's exponents. The numbers behave quote-unquote normal. Exponents got this weird rule coming out. So if we put all this together for part A, if we put all those together, we'd get this. If we put it together for part B, we'd get that. Remember I said something about how, hey, the decimal has to go in between the 1 and the 8. So both of those, and over here, we have to go between the 3 and the 3. So both of those numbers, we got something quote-unquote wrong. What do we need to do? Well, we need to move the number, move the decimal, but that means we need to change the exponent. Because you can't change one thing without changing the other. What's a rule? Every action has a reaction. If you change this number, you got to change the exponent number. Same thing here. I'm changing this 0.33 to 3.3. That means I'm going to have to change the exponent. And if you're asking how did I change it that way? Look at the red arrow. 18 goes down to 1.8. So that 4 goes up to 5. It's like 1 goes down, 1 goes up. I use that word. Action and reaction. Over here, that's a small decimal. It goes up. Well, that negative number goes down. More negative. -7 is further down. A lot of moving parts. I get it. That's a lot of stuff to comprehend. Once again, if you're starting to feel like a couple wires getting crossed, check out that online tutoring on Saturday and the Zoom meeting. Details you can find on Blackboard. There's our final answers for number 2. You'll apply it to the homework. Number 3, a couple word problems. I'm going to do this one really quickly. I'm just going to say, wait, I've got a total. That means I need a big number. What's it mean to be a big number? It means I'm going to multiply. And if you forgot about multiplying, well, let's go back to the last slide and I showed you how to multiply those scientific notation. Part C, I'm looking at a stack of paper. All right, well, here's a stack of paper. And then I'm looking at how many sheets I want inside. So I'm like trying to count the pieces inside. So I'm taking this big stack and I'm breaking it up sheet by sheet. Well, what do you think about math when I'm taking a tall stack and I'm breaking it up? That sounds like divide to me. So I've got 2 numbers here, and I'm going to end up dividing. Now, which good number goes first and second when you divide? I'll leave that to you to figure out. But 3 part A, multiply number. 3 part C is going to be a dividing problem. Give that a shot. Once again, I'm going to make a last plug. The Zoom meeting. It's online tutoring on Saturday at noon. Check out details on course documents if you have any questions. Oh, hey, look at that. Whoops, I forgot about it. Here's your 2 options for part C. You'll try one of those, see which one works, which one makes sense for you. Once again, Zoom meeting Saturday afternoon. Other than that, I've emailed you what homework needs to get done for week 6, week 7. And if I do not cross paths with you before then, happy Thanksgiving.